In this episode, we're throwing it back to a time before COVID, a couple of years ago when I went to Ecuador. My friend Roberto is a filmmaker in Ecuador, and he was kind enough to take me on an adventure to meet some of his underwater friends that ended up being one of the best dives of my life. It's about an hour-and-a-half boat ride out to the dive site. We were lucky enough to see some pantropical spotted dolphins who decided to join us and ride in the slipstream of the boat for a while. This is called bow riding. Dolphins can position themselves around the bow, the front of the boat, and ride the pressure waves that the boat creates. It's mesmerizing. Before visiting Ecuador, I had been lucky enough to see manta rays just once back home, and I was so blown away by how graceful they are. I had seen images and videos of them, but being in their presence felt a bit magical. Once we arrived at the site, we hopped in to see if the manta rays were there, and once seeing them, we suited up and dove in. When jumping into the water, it can be a little bit eerie. The water is dark and there's not much visibility, so you're unable to see very far away, but you won't need to. It wasn't long before these huge shapes began to appear. It was very reminiscent of the aliens in the film Arrival. And suddenly, they're everywhere. Roberto has dove with them for years, untangling them from fishing line, filming, and photographing them. And what you noticed almost immediately is that the manta rays he has disentangled, who still have scars from the line, flock to him. They're constantly swooping down and following him around. And while the manta rays are definitely checking out everyone, I swear to you, it is like these ones remember him. We're still only beginning to understand the intelligence of manta rays and learning new things all the time. Not only do oceanic manta rays have the largest brains of all cold-blooded fish species, but they also have the largest brain-to-body size ratio, which points to high intelligence. They also show signs of self-awareness, meaning they recognize themselves as an individual. It's something we so far have seen in humans, cetaceans, great apes, and elephants. Mirrors are often used to test self-awareness to see if animals understand that they're looking at their own reflection rather than being confronted with another animal. During a study, when manta rays were presented with a mirror, they were seen swimming in front of it repeatedly, looking at areas of their body, and rolling and unrolling their cephalic lobes. While it can't be confirmed, they do show signs that they may be self-aware. These manta rays are some of the largest in the world. but they're not dangerous. They don't have a barb like a stingray, and they're curious. They come right up to you. Most of the time when you scuba dive, sound and bubbles can make it more difficult for wildlife to trust you enough to come close. These manta rays seem to enjoy the bubbles very much. It's probably because it disturbs the hitchhiking remoras attached to them. These manta rays seem to like the sensation enough that they will follow you all the way down to the seafloor. I think one of the coolest moments of my dive was when this one female manta ray kept swooping really low over me and pushing me all the way to the ground to get my bubbles. And the first time she did it, the very back of her kind of clipped the back of my head. Not hard, but they are very heavy, so it felt like a little nudge. And the second time she came back around, right before she passed over me at that spot again, I felt her pause and lift the back of her body up a bit and continue so that she wouldn't bump my head again. And it was so deliberate that I am sure that's what she was doing. We have so much to learn about manta rays. Unfortunately, we're also running out of time. While fishing gear and being caught as bycatch has heavily impacted manta rays, they're also purposefully hunted for their gills. In the last 2 decades, demand for manta ray gill rakers has grown exponentially, and you might be asking yourself, why would anyone want them? Well, some traditional Chinese medicine practitioners have started claiming that they can do just about everything from cure the chickenpox to cancer. Of course, there's no scientific findings that back up these claims, and what's even more interesting is they aren't officially recognized as traditional Chinese medicine either. Researchers think that traffickers began looking for alternative wildlife products to profit from, due in part to the fast decline of shark populations, which in turn means less shark fins. So it's believed they began pushing the gill rakers. Wilday tested gills being sold and found that they contain dangerous levels of heavy metals and carcinogens, including arsenic, mercury, and lead, toxic substances that accumulate as the mantas filter plankton through their gills. Manta rays breed slowly. They only give birth to a single pup every 2 to 3 years. They simply cannot keep up with this demand. In a world ruled by money, one of the best things we can do for manta rays is show governments how much more valuable they are alive. One way to help do this is by participating in responsible ecotourism and make leaders see that manta rays are worth protecting. Mantas aren't medicine. Thank you for joining me on an underwater adventure this week. Hope to see you soon.